Rubens' Vase and the God-Shaped Hole. I was recently providing music at a conference where one of the speakers, a noted professor of theology, remarked that we are in the experiential age of the Christian faith, an age that is defined by professed personal relationship with Christ. And then she threw up her hands and said, "What does that mean?" Initially, I thought she was distinctly in the wrong line of work. But then I found it to be a provocative question and thought, yeah, what does it mean? I reflected on the idea of the God-shaped hole, the empty space in us that longs for the Lord and can only be satisfied with His Spirit. You could say that this concept is too small, that God wants to inhabit our whole being, not just our Sunday morning best. But I think of it as negative space that, like Rubens' vase, reveals an entirely new subject. The God-shaped hole in me was the portal of my longing, to be named, to be claimed, and to be loved. I could not find satisfaction for my desire anywhere else in this world. I did, however, give it my best shot. But my solutions led me to alcoholism, drug addiction, lying, cheating, stealing, promiscuity, and really bad moods. I spent years heaping shame upon shame. Today, my knowledge of Jesus is an abiding presence that is marked often by an overwhelming experience of the love and sense of place that I yearned for. Here I find acceptance and welcome, and over time I have been changed. I see the evidence of transformation most vividly in my desire to love and serve others. I have been exclusively devoted to all manner of self-interest, self-will, and selfish living for the better part of my life. So the emergence of this outward gaze and concern, both at home and at large, is truly supernatural. Of course, I am not completely over myself, not by a long shot. So I expected to see the changes in my life spelled out in victorious living and attributes. Or, as Jim Carrey's Grinch would say, I expected to be joyful and triumphant. But that is not what happened. The path I have taken is the low road of the gospel, where I live as a broken person among the broken, and where repeated failures have provided the Ebenezer stones for the things that I most cherish. I assumed that in coming to faith, my cracks and splits would be sewn together again in a seamless, saint-like fabric, but such is not the case. Much like the Velveteen Rabbit, I'm a series of threadbare patches, irregular stitches with the stuffing poking out, and one button eye, displaced and downcast. I have serious issues with this. I have despised my brokenness and cry out to God regularly and petulantly, particularly after a public display of contempt, shame, greed, gluttony, grandiosity, or insensitivity. Would it be such a big deal to relieve me of some of this? Could you make me just a little less broken? The answer that I perceive is always the same. No, more broken. Over time, I have come to understand that out of this ruined place comes every valuable thing that I have to give away. Here I see the foolishness of thinking that I should be in charge of anything, including, and perhaps most notably, myself. Here my notion of goodness is off the table and I can only cling to Christ. And in the clinging, I become teachable. I gain compassion and empathy. I am forgiven. I am free. This is the story of the groundwork that paved the way to my faith. It is not an easy story to tell, but I have made my peace, and I do not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. Or, as the Apostle Paul puts it, by the grace of God, I am what I am, and His grace toward me was not in vain. 1 Corinthians 15:10. To that I would add, I am what I am, and most of the time, I would not be otherwise.